started and I bought my first duplex in Hemet, California in 2000 and flipped it 6 months later and made $50,000. You know, flipping, fix and flip was a great strategy, 2000, 2001, 2002. And think how interesting it was for me as a high school teacher. And I remember going into the coach's room with the other teachers and saying, guys, I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I want passive income. And they're like, what do you mean, coach? Like, well, you know, I want to do a rental property. And one of the other coaches is like, no, dude, real estate crashed a couple of years ago in the early 90s, because this was like 1999. He's like, 8 years ago, real estate crashed. You don't want to get, real estate's risky. Just get your pension, do your 20 years at Paloma Valley High School, and, you know, win a couple state championships. That's a better path for you, coach. And my wife and I, has anybody been to Temecula, California? Nice, right? It's like wine country. It's on the way down to San Diego on I-15. And my wife and I have bought our first house in Temecula. In fact, let me show you this. And then I came to her and I said, and I came to her and I was like, babe, I found a duplex in Hemet. It's $100,000. And she's like, it's in Hemet. We live in Temecula. We have a palm tree. We have pink stucco. We have a yard. You cut it every Saturday. We have, you know, neighbors. There's a park. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been reading. She's like, I know you've been reading these books. You talk about it every night. And then you went back and bought more books. And then, you know, you spent $500 on that seminar on foreclosure properties in Hemet, I mean, in Riverside last month. I'm like, I want to move into this duplex. And I said, we can buy for $100,000. And I think I have a picture. Hold on a second. There it is. Here. And I said to her, we can live in this front house here and we can rent out the back house. And she was like, but there's like concrete in the yard. I'm like, yeah, but it's $100,000 and we can get $750 back here. And I looked at our principal and interest, tax and insurance, and the whole payment is only like $735 a month. So I'm like, we can live in the front house for free and rent out the back house. And she's like, yeah, but we have to live in Hemet. We have to live in that house. And I was like, but babe, we're trying to get out of the rat race. You don't even know what that is, but that's a whole other book that I read. And I said, we're slaves, babe. You don't like you're working, we're living, your student loans, you're going to grad school, and I'm at the high school. I'm on this treadmill, and yeah, I'll get a pension, but like we're always going to be like blue collar, lower middle class here in California forever. And I don't want that. I can always keep coaching if I'm rich. And I said, well, you know, we don't have any kids. We're broke. Now's the time to roll the dice on this real estate stuff. And so we went and looked at it, and it was really ugly. And we only lived there for 6 months. I don't think she took her shoes off once. Like, I think she slept. She was sure that she would get contaminated by Hemet if she She walked barefoot through the tile floors in that house. And I didn't know anything about property management when I bought it. And so I bought the Carlton Sheets property management course on eBay. Anybody remember Carlton Sheets and his No Money Down program? And it was great. Like that was what I used from my first rental contract. And I got set up with National Tenant Network for tenant screening, who we still use here today, 20 years later. And I put an ad in the Thrifty Nickel. What has replaced the Thrifty Nickel? Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace has replaced the penny save. Who broke up with Facebook? Okay, like you're not on it right now. You're like, I don't like Facebook. Okay, come back to Facebook. Here's what you need. Facebook Marketplace right here. This is the penny saver of America. This is where you know how many mobile home flips I find on here? And I use Facebook Marketplace to find tenants for all the time. We love Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has replaced the newspaper, the penny saver, the Thrifty Nickel. So I put an ad in the penny saver for my first tenants, and this husband and wife, like semi-retired, rented it from me, and it was super awkward because there was like a breezeway between the front house and the back house, and we had to share the washer and dryer. My wife really loved that. But about 6 months later, there was an identical duplex 3 blocks away that sold for $175,000. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same as mine. And this was like September 2000. I went to my wife and I said, I think I have a plan. We can get out of this house. And I said, I think we can get $175 for it. She's like, are you